So Baruch Hashem, Baruch Shechianu v'Kimanu. We're here, we're doing Holiness for Pesach. And there's so many different Nekudas that we can focus on. First of all, this year, tonight, is dedicated by Reb David and Esti Lowinger, L'Nishmas Shlema Ben Avram Pinchas Alevi, Zechron L'Vracham, Beis Nishama Havin Aliyah. There are many different Nekudas we can focus on. Haggadah, Shalom Yitz. Haggadah, Yonah Pesach, Nisan. But I think there's something very special, there's something very unique about the Leil HaSeder itself. Besides all the mitzvahs, which are important, and the deraisas, but there's something very important, something very fundamental and key to realize what lies in this night, what the opportunity is, and what's being given over mamish from the king, from the Eibishter himself. So, Melech Biderman, who is the king, literally the master of shtelling to, of bringing different mishalim, stories, and just making it light, making it understandable, and bringing it into Yontif, and making it very just real and relatable. He tells the following story. There was a Yid, his name was Rabbi Yisrael Niesenstruck. He was a wealthy Talmid Chacham, lived in the city of Brisk. And he was a very big Vir. Tremendous, fabulously wealthy. And fortune has its ups and downs, and unfortunately came the time that he lost his entire fortune. Everything, gone, depleted. And he literally didn't know what to do. He never encountered such a situation. He had everything. He was always the giver. He was the Taimich. He was supporting the entire Brisk. And mitamal, out of nowhere, he got struck by lightning, and there was nowhere to turn, he didn't know what to do. But he knew it was a famous family, the Rothschild family in England. Baron Rothschild, there was a famous family, tremendously wealthy, bankers. And he said, you know what? Maybe I should just try my luck. I'll take a train trip to England, and who knows? Maybe he'll be able to help me out. Finally, he gets to England. He looks around. Where's the Rothschild? I was like, oh, Rothschild. He's directed to the right place. Obviously, in these situations with very wealthy people, there's a lot of red tape. You realize that the entire world literally is all here, all trying to get Baron Rothschild's attention, trying to share their story. And he started to get very muyish. He knew time was ticking down. It was a lengthy train trip, and by the time he's going to be able to get through to someone and then finally meet Baron, who knows, it could be months, maybe even, he had no idea. He met the clerk on Erev Shabbos. Somehow the clerk saw that he looked super out of the ordinary, very broken, very shattered. And he approached Baron, he approached Rabbi Yisrael, and he said, I see you look different. You don't look like everyone else. Like, you look really battered. And he said, yeah, Taka, I'm coming from Brisk. My entire Parnasa was a very wealthy man, and it's all been taken from me. I left my family with a very small allowance, and here I am, just in hope, sitting here crying, davening that I should be able to get a meeting with Mr. Rothschild. And the clerk sees that this, again, he was a very wealthy man. He was a man of dignity and pride, and there's a special, unique mitzvah when it comes to someone who was used to, someone who was living that lifestyle of Ashiras, to get him back on his feet in that way. And he said, listen, I'm going to take care of you. Come back after Shabbos, let's reconvene, and let's see what we can do. The clerk comes back and introduces him to the Baron, to the banker, to Mr. Rothschild. And Mr. Rothschild sits down in his office and says, can I just ask what happened? He says, well, I'm from Brisk, and the clerk told you I was very wealthy and I had a big business and everything was... He said, how much were you worth? How much did you lose? And he gave him the sum. It was a very large amount, and he was almost embarrassed to just say out that number, but in respect to where he was and who he was dealing with, he said the number. Mr. Rothschild takes out a checkbook and writes out a check for exactly that number, not a penny less. he almost fainted on the spot. And he's completely overwhelmed, overcome with emotion, and he wants to ask and say and get something out, and how, why, thank you. He's completely exploding with, and before he can say anything, Mr. Rothschild says, Rabbi Yisrael, what's your address? He tells him his address. Mr. Rothschild takes out another piece of paper and says, here, this is my address. And he says, if you ever get yourself into another situation like this, send me a telegram in the mail, and I'm going to take care of you. There's a lot of messages, takeaways from that story about chesed and tzedakah and noisid ba'alim chaveroi. But there's also another message. That what was this Rabbi Saul feeling? He was feeling broken, he was feeling lost, darkness. And all of a sudden, there was the Redeemer. There was the big Veer that was able to take care of everything, wipe all of his pain and sorrow into obliteration. On Leil HaSeder, we're no different. We come to the Seder, we talk, we tell the stories, we sit with our wives, our kids, our in-laws, parents. And what we're doing is we're setting up the structure, we're setting up the path, that whatever may happen, whatever may go down later, after Pesach, Shavuos, the summer, Hanukkah, we're creating the pipeline, the gateway back to the Eibishter. And the Eibishter says every single year, sit down with your family and relive it. And then when the dark times come, we're not hoping for the Gvir. We're not hoping for Segulas, for Nisim. We go one place. We're going back to the Eibishter. We have his address. That's the structure, that's the intention, that's the kivun of Leil HaSeder. It's Zman Cheiruseinu, of course, the freedom, and we're excited, we relish in this Mitzias, that we're B'nai Chayrin, that we're in Mitzrayim, we're out, but something much deeper, something much more fundamental, something that will really sustain us, is realizing that we have the address. Hashem is giving us a slip of paper and He's saying, I am your God, I took you out of Mitzrayim, and any Mitzrayim, any darkness, any oppression that you're feeling in your life, there's only one address, and I can take care of you. Will it happen the day you ask, the day after, maybe a year, you're going to have to wait? But there's one address. This week's Parshas Tzav, and the Parsha starts with something very interesting. It starts with Trumas Hadeshin. The Kohen removes the ashes from the Mizbeach as the first avodah of the day. What's he supposed to wear? What's the big day kahuna? It's the beautiful, pristine royal garments. And when he's taking out the Trumas Hadeshin, when he's taking out the ashes, and he's with his fork, with his hand and the spoonfuls, and he's getting all over the place, he's wearing this big day kahuna. Isn't that a little strange, Madna? Let him wear Shmata clothing. Put on a pair of Blundstones, a pair of undershirt, jeans, and take out the psoilis, take out the Trumas Hadeshin, remove the ashes. Why does Hashem say adorn yourself with the big day kahuna? What's pshat? Ben Uyayna writes the following: Tzivo lilbaish big day kahuna, asher yispor bahem. The Kohen Gadol was mandated to wear the big day kahuna. Laharim es hadeshin, bedafka when he's being married, when he's pulling out the ashes. Why? Laharis shemailas ha'adam agdoila, asher ba nechshavi ba'asoisa avoda lalekav, va'afilu b'derech habezuya, be'enei habrius, zu hi remusay. Zok the Rabbeinu Yonah. The Eibishter is communicating to us. He's telling us that when you think you're busy with garbage, you think you're busy with dirt, you think it's trivial, meaningless, you're dealing with ashes, or the ashes of whatever we're dealing with, if it's changing diapers, if it's picking things up from the floor, whatever it may be that we equate as lowly, it's not for us. The Eibishter says one thing. He says, Ezechain, always remember, always have imprinted in your mind that the Kohen Gadol was commanded to wear his big day kahuna when he's taking out the Trumas Hadeshin, lahoyres, to teach l'dayre dayres. Why? To teach us that when we think we're doing devarim habezuyim, when we think we're doing things that are lowly, that aren't on our level, the Eibishter says nothing is lowly, nothing is beneath your level. If Trumas Hadeshin wasn't too low for the Kohen Gadol, then for us, as long as we turn it into something godly, as long as we connect with the Eibishter through that avodah, we can elevate and soar in anything we do. When we think it's bezuya be'eni habriya, zuhira memusa. What's Rabbeinu Yonah telling us? We always have to look at the connection. Parshas Tzav this year is right before Pesach. So on a simple level, as we just said, he's telling us that there's nothing too low, and we can elevate, we can be meirim anything, as long as there's the intention, as long as we're mindful about it. Just like the Kohen Gadol, when he was taking out the Trumas Hadeshin, he was wearing his big dekuna because he had in mind, he's doing avodas Hashem. But I tell you, there's something fascinating. It connects right into Pesach. A couple nights, Thursday night, Friday, Shabbos, Sunday, Monday. 6 nights, 5 nights, we're doing B'dikas Chametz. Something very interesting we find in B'dikas Chametz. It's quite an obvious kasha. If you didn't think of it, it makes sense, because we have our, not in a bad way, we have our narish cook, we have the way we were taught in kindergarten. Orla arbasa, baitkin, esa chametz la'araner. We all know it means on the night of the 14th, the night of going to the 15th, we're baidik the chametz la'araner. It's a very obvious, glaring kasha. Say it again. Or l'arba asar baitkin esa chametz. On the 15th, night of the 14th, we're baidik the chametz by the light of the candle. Baidik esa chametz. We're not being baidik the chametz. Are we analyzing the bread? Yeah, we have to analyze and search to make sure that there's no bread, to pick up the bread. But are we picking up the bread and then saying, oh, is it whole wheat? Is it a wrap? Is it a cracker? No, we don't do that. We just put it in the bag and move on and burn it tomorrow. You hear the kasha? Good kasha? Ever thought about it? So the kasha is, what are we doing? What every word of Torah has to be correct grammatically, has to make sense. So this Parshas seems to be a big mishap. Tremendously doesn't fit in. Mamash doesn't read. It should be Arla Arba Asar, Boitkin Es Habayis, Lichametz, but not Boitkin Es Hachametz. Azoy fragt, the Heilige Originer. So the answer is that Avada, the Parshas Pshat is the Parshas Pshat. That yeah, like Tzvi said, you check for chametz. Lechametz means for the chametz. But there's a much deeper derech drush pshat that he says. He says, we're talking about before about the Trumas Hadeshin, about lowliness, about doing lowly things. Here's the Nukuda. On Orla Arba Asar, when we're going into Pesach, as you know, the Svarim Kedashim tell us, Pi Kabbalah, Pi Soid, chametz represents the inner chametz. Matzah represents the inner tara, the kedusha. It's a hurry, it's a toiv, dark, or choshech. It's a struggle. It's the life. It's the struggle of life. Matzah versus chametz. When the Mishnah is telling us, or la'arba also boitkin es chametz, avada check your house for chametz, but the tifkite over here, the depth, is also do bedika on your inner chametz. And Hashem tells us, as we're commencing the avodah of Pesach, which the avodah is detaching, removing ourselves from chametz, tashbisu, bittul. But we also, before we chuck it, before we throw it out, before we burn it, we have to do some introspection. But here's where it takes a turn. Not just the regular tshuva, I'm sorry Hashem, no. Boitken es chametz, find the nekuda hapnim, the nekuda tehora, even in the chametz. Even where you messed up. Even where you slipped. You did avirus. You looked at the wrong things. You said lashon hara. Shmir sinam, you messed up. You said something not nice to your wife. You made her whatever it is that you did. Hashem says, resurface, bring those back up. Boidik, check them out. And do what? Find the kedusha v'tahara. Boitken es chametz. Find that, and find even in there the tahara. Find even in there, and show yourself that it wasn't really you. It was the Yitzhahara. It was the Koyach HaTumah, but it wasn't me. It wasn't me. And just like, says the Regina, just like we do a bedika on that chametz, the inner chametz, and disassociate, detach, and show ourselves that it wasn't me, and that I had guilt, and I had remorse, and I didn't feel good about it, and I realized that Hashem is willing to be mekabel me, says the Regina, the Eibishter does mitzvahs, the Gemara tells us, the Eibishter does the same mitzvahs we do. And on Arla Arba Asar, Hashem also, boitkin es ha-chametz, Hashem also is taking all of our collective chametz, and he's saying, you said lashon hara, it wasn't you. You were in Shalom Yerinaim, it wasn't you. You missed Mount Krish, it wasn't you. Cancel everything. We take everything off the list. We do that. Hashem does that. L'ar haner. What's ner? Ner mitzvah v'Torah ar. It's the ar of Torah. It's the ar of the Eibishter. It's the ar of the Chelel Kamimal. It's the ar of the ar Haganas. And when we go into Pesach, we're reminded that we can even look at our chametz, at all of our pitfalls, our setbacks, everything that we thought is taking us down, that we feel is sucking us in to where we don't want to be. So we can look at that too, and we can boidik that, we can analyze it. We have the ar haner, we have the ar of Torah, of matzah, of mitzvahs, of the Eibishter. He's doing the same thing with us. It's a group effort. And then we go into the kedusha, we go into the tahara, the process of Pesach, and we could be elevated. Then we can feel the we can feel, we can get close to the Eibishter. When Hashem is sending us kaviyachol, the address, as we talk, we recount Yetzias Mitzrayim, when we realize nothing is too low, like we learned in Parshas Tzav from the Rabbeinu Yoina, that the Devarim that feel the most bezuyim, derech habzuya be'eni abriya zuhi remusa. How can it be? How can it be the things that are embarrassing, the things that we're ashamed of? How can that be the remumus? The answer is that when we look in the chametz and we realize it wasn't us, we realize that's not our essence. We're all chilek alakamimal. We're tzalam alakim. I'm kulam tzadikim. We know we're better. Hashem knows we're better. When we realize that, and we can elevate and reach new heights with that recognition, Hashem says, come sit with me. Have the Seder. I'm going to give you my address. And it's not just a temporary fix, but it sustains ourselves, sustains all of us for the rest of the year, till the next Seder. Because when we have the Eibush, we have the address, the Rabbi Saul was able to send back to the Baron whenever he needed. The money that you're short will always come. The same thing, we need a shuas, we need a chametz, we need all the good stuff. And Hashem says, here's my address. Purify yourselves, elevate yourselves, and never forget when you learn this story of Yetzias Mitzrayim, you always come back to me, you have my address. Hashem Taka should deliver personal yeshuas, nechamas, answers to whatever we need, the clarity. And of course, on a global grander scale, he should deliver the ultimate yeshua nechama of the arrival of Mashiach. Amen.